Hello everyone, Michael Brady here from Brady Musical Instruments. In today's video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different that I haven't done before, and I'm going to be going over one of my custom Xun commissions more in depth. In other videos, you've probably seen me comparing and contrasting differences in size, kind of shape, and different woods on the tonal qualities and characteristics of various shun that I've made. And I have lots of playing videos of all different types of shuns, all different sizes and woods to get a feel for what these sound like. But in today's video, I'm going to specifically focus on one of these builds very similar to what I do in my typical ocarina batch reveals. So through the course of this video, I'm going to kind of go over the development of this particular instrument, go over some of the characteristics of it, the wood selection, and then give various sound samples of the instrument. So like every shun that I make, because the shun is very rarely requested, it's a very little known instrument, very few people know about it or even play it. So every single one of these instruments are custom made to order. Right now, it just doesn't make sense for me to have a stock of them like I do with my ocarinas. So every single one is custom, and the process for this is exactly the same with my custom ocarinas in that I go through the process with the customer very intensively to create a very personalized, unique instrument to their taste and specifications. So I go over tons of different wood selections, over a wide price range, work with a customer on picking out, what their favorite option, if there's other features that they like the laminations like on this instrument, and kind of giving overviews and progress updates through the entire build. So you actually see how the whole instrument comes to shape from the initial wood selection to the final form. You can follow along with these builds actually on the Brady Musical Instruments Instagram, where I actually post a lot of wood selection for various woods and different instruments that I make and kind of show the progress of them. So this particular shun is a bass B3. This is one of my standard models. So you can see as a bass instrument, it's still actually pretty small and quite light and portable. So this particular shun is made from 3 different woods. There's a beautiful figured rambutan for the main body, which if you've seen in other shun videos, this is one of my favorite woods to work with. Then we've got a curly maple lamination, and as well as a wenge lamination. So this is actually a multi-layer shun. I've done single wood shuns. I've done double wood shuns, but this is the first triple layer shun. So there's actually 6 layers of wood making up this entire instrument. So kind of the backstory with this instrument, customer originally saw some of my shun postings on the Ocarina Reddit, and they reached out to me. They really liked the rambutan shun set that I made for myself, and they were looking for a bass rambutan shun. So I kind of worked with them. I had a whole range of rambutan options that they could choose from. They picked their favorite board, and I went ahead and acquired that to start the build. Now, one thing about the rambutan, it's a very kind of rarely seen wood. You don't see it used very much, and there's actually really no data in terms of like the Janka hardness or other properties of the wood. It's really heavy, really hard, really dense, probably one of the toughest woods I've worked with, but it really creates a very beautiful finish and really beautiful kind of rust color that I've come to really like. And with the selection that I have available from one of the suppliers that I typically go through, typically the rambutan is too thin on its own to make a base shun. So I have to kind of laminate layers to kind of build it up to thickness. And so I went to the customer and, told them, for rambutan, for the base size, I'm going to have to build it up a little bit. So we decided on exploring a few different wood options. So in this case, I could either have done a single layer, or I could do multiple wood layers. And my first initial recommendation was kind of going with some darker contrasting woods. So the customer originally was looking at something like ebony for a contrast. And ebony is a little bit tough and a lot more expensive to get in the really thin stock that I need for this particular size. So I originally suggested something like Catalox, which I've used before in another Xun, that has like a really nice dark color to it. So we went with originally a Catalox lamination, and I suggested maybe a contrasting kind of dark brown type of lamination with Bolivian rosewood. So the rambutan arrived first, and it was a really nice large board. And while I was laying out the Xun design, kind of figuring out where I wanted the grain pattern, how I wanted the structure to flow across the instrument, it turned out that there was enough wood for multiple instruments from that board. So I reached out to the customer and I was like, hey, I'm going to design your Xun around the board first, based on the area with the most figure and nicest grain pattern. But there's also enough wood here for several larger ocarinas. So I'm probably going to make a couple of tenor ocarinas from this. And the customer liked that idea, and they asked, could you make a matching ocarina to the Xun? And I told them, absolutely. I've thought about making Xun and ocarina matching sets before, but I've never really had the chance to do it. So we kind of started that whole effort. So this Xun is a little bit unique in that it is actually part of a matching ocarina and Xun set. So I'm currently working on the ocarina right now. It's going to be a tenor. It's going to have kind of the same type of laminations and woods on this for the body. The mouthpiece and the top wood are going to be a bit different and very unique. It's going to be one of my most figured and really nicest ocarinas that I've built yet. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be a really exciting batch reveal when I go about revealing it. So we kind of got the wood selection for that, and I started working on the layout and design of the ocarina. The Catalox first showed up, and I was actually kind of disappointed with it. The Catalox boards, they had a really nice dark color to them, but they also had a lot of sapwood. Now, normally I love a heartwood sapwood mix. I think it creates a really interesting, bold contrast, especially for musical instruments. And for like a top for an ocarina or for a main body for a Xun, that would be fantastic. But for the layering, we kind of wanted a consistent band all the way around, and having that heartwood sapwood mix wouldn't work well for this particular aesthetic. So we decided to go back. I told the customer I wasn't really happy with the initial selection, but why don't we try something like wenge instead? So I've used wenge with lots of laminations for ocarinas before. Wenge is one of my favorite woods to use for laminations. It creates a really dark, almost black banding, which I really like. So we decided to switch to wenge. About a week later, the Bolivian rosewood showed up, and I was also really disappointed with that. Instead of being like a nice, rich, dark brown that I kind of was expecting, it ended up being like this really pale brown that was kind of, they didn't contrast the rambutan well enough. So I kind of looked at different combinations, I played with it, and I went back to the customer and said, I'm not really happy with this. And the customer agreed that, they didn't really like that contrast. So the customer suggested, since we're using the really dark band with the red, can we use like a more white wood to bring out that contrast? And I thought that was actually a really great idea. So immediately in my mind, maple popped up. That's a really classic wood for giving a nice, clean, white kind of striping. And I went through and I actually upgraded from just a standard maple to a curly maple, so you could see a little bit of the iridescence in the grain through the sides. So all that wood finally showed up, and I was playing around with the combinations. And originally, the striping was going to be the rambutan, wenge, and maple. So the maple was actually going to be in the middle with outer bands of black. And I showed it to the customer. I was kind of thinking, about how it would go, and the customer actually asked, would it be possible to sandwich the wenge between the white maple to really bring out the contrast and boldness in that black color. And so I switched the woods around, kind of stacking them before gluing it, and immediately it was an amazing difference. Just flipping those two layers around really changed the whole feel of the instrument. It made it really crisp, really defined, really luxurious feeling. And so this is one of the really fun things about custom instrument builds, working very closely with clients like this, is while I give the initial input on some of the design and the selection and other things, I do like to give the customer a lot of freedom in the final wood selection and the design. I'll make my recommendations, but it's ultimately up to the customer to say what they would like. And for this particular case, the customer had fantastic recommendations, and I thought the recommendation really to make this layering really brought out the best in the instrument. So it was a really fun collaboration, and this also kind of inspired some other ocarinas that I'm making down the road. I've got a bloodwood base that I'm actually using the maple and wenge lamination kind of like this, which I think just looks a lot more sophisticated with this layering. So this was really great example of getting inspiration from the customer. And I found through now a number of custom builds that customers are asking for some wood combinations that I would never even have thought of before, for ocarinas, for shuns and stuff. So it's been really fun to kind of explore these new combinations. So I got everything together, went through the process, laminated each of the blocks. It takes about a week alone for gluing all this, because each layer has to be laminated individually for each half, and then I hollow the halves, and then glue them together and shape the outside, and then do the rest of the shun making process. So that's kind of the background of this particular build, and that's also going to follow along again with the custom ocarina that's going to match this. So I'm really excited to see how that comes out. So looking more into the actual details of the wood, I'll give you some close-ups of the wood grain. So we decided to go for the rambutan with this really beautiful curly iridescent board. This one's actually a little bit more orangey, kind of rust, as opposed to the deeper red that I used for my own set. But this has just amazing chatoyance and iridescence in the grain. You can see just the incredible ripples in the grain running through this. And one really nice thing about this particular one was there's also this this really beautiful veining running through the wood vertically through the boards. So one thing that I really pay attention to very heavily in making the instruments is not only the grain coloration and like the curl and the figure, but also kind of the layout and how it wraps around the instrument. In some cases, the instrument looks better with the grain and curl running horizontally. Sometimes it looks better vertically. Sometimes it works better diagonally. For this particular set, because it has such beautiful kind of veins running vertically again through the wood, what I wanted to do is capture that and accentuate it by laying out the halves so that ways they're almost book matched vertically. So I have the two halves facing each other, so when they're hollowed and folded together like this, you have that grain wrap around the top. So that's exactly what occurs here. You can see kind of the lines of the grain kind of wrapping around. So you have this beautiful, not only do you have this beautiful horizontal curly figure running across the instrument, but you also have this striping going over the top, matched from the front and back. And that's something that I really like to do for certain selections of wood. Next, you can see the lamination layer. So we have the maple and the wenge. I'm really ecstatic with how this came out. You can't really see the chatoyance in the maple, but it is definitely there if you look at it in real life. You can kind of see a light curl in the iridescence in the figure, which is really nice. And then you have just like the really rich black of the finished polished wenge. So I think this combination of the red, the white, the black is just a really beautiful, sophisticated feel for the instrument. And this is actually kind of a theme that I've really liked myself. On a custom Heinz that I got, like 15 years ago, my selection for that wood was a Puduk body with a maple striping and Oblivion rosewood stripe in the center. So kind of same theme on a super custom Tsugaru shamisen that I built for myself. I also have kind of that similar theme where I have like this reddish color with figured bubinga and Australian red mallee burl, coupled with again really iridescent curly maple. So I've always kind of liked this combination of red, white, and black kind of layering in the instruments that I've had made, that I've made for myself, and also kind of now making for others. So again, you can kind of see how the layers wrap around. So wraps around completely around to the top, the bottom. And again, this is one way that I used to build up thickness for both shuns and ocarinas. It doesn't affect the integrity or structural strength of the instrument at all. Once they're laminated together, they are solid. They're never coming apart. They're never delaminating. It's just kind of building up the layers to create kind of the thickness that I need, with also a kind of unique contrast in the tone of the woods. So this is one of my favorite shun builds that I've done yet. This is a really fun one, really awesome looking one. I don't want to let it go. It's a beautiful piece of rambutan. I love the striping. I'm a little bit jealous that I have to send this out the door. I'd love to have this in my collection, but I'm also really excited to see, what type of music the customer makes with this, as well as the matching ocarina. So now, kind of to give a demonstration of the tone of this shun, I'm now going to kind of go up and down the scale. You heard a little bit of the intro theme earlier on, but I'm kind of just going to go over the scale and then do a full song demonstration at the end of the video. So here is kind of just a sound sample of the full scale going up and down. So really nice shun type tone. It plays really effortlessly, especially the bass shuns. From my experience and from experience from other customers, the bass shun is actually kind of the easiest of the sizes that I make to really start playing. So it has a really nice, deep, mellow tone, and for the size of the instrument, it's really deep. Still kind of fits in the palm of your hand. It's a relatively small instrument overall, but having that B3 type tone in such a small instrument is really nice. And that's one nice thing about the Xun, is that it's very efficient at making very low tones for a given size. And based on how I voice these instruments, I go with a smaller than typical sound hole, which allows me to have smaller finger holes and kind of balance the tone more how I would like. But what it also does is it lowers the overall pitch for the given size. So for an equivalent size, typical one that you might see in clay with a much larger sound hole, you are actually going to have a much lower pitch with this same size with the ones that I make. So that kind of wraps up kind of the overview and the development of this particular custom Xun. Now I would like to play kind of a full song with this Xun, kind of demonstrating the complete range. So this is actually a song that I use very often in the final qualification of the instrument and throughout the tuning process. This is Parting at Yangguan Gate. This is a song that I've played before on the Xun and on my channel. I'd like to play it on this one just because it demonstrates the full range of the instrument. It's a nice kind of final qualification piece that I use for testing the Xuns, the tuning and response. It's an ancient Chinese melody originally written for the silk string guqin, but it adapts really nicely to the Xun as well. So please enjoy this short rendition of Parting at Yangguan Gate. So that wraps up this overview video of this custom B3 bass Xun. This again was made out of figured rambutan, curly maple, and wenge. If you'd like to follow along with more of these developments, you can check out the Brady Musical Instruments Facebook page. The Instagram page is really where you're going to see all of the updates in terms of new woods, new ocarinas, and Xuns in production, and a lot of exciting updates as they're happening, as well as new videos here on the Brady Musical Instruments YouTube page. And I'm also relatively active in the ocarina Reddit, where I post builds for my ocarinas and Xun. So I want to thank you for watching this video, and I hope my customer enjoys this. I'll be sending this instrument out in the next few days. Again, a bit sad to let this go, but really excited to see it in its new home, and really happy with how this came out in terms of the final selection, the process that it's gone through, the woods, the tone, everything that goes into this, from just a whole stack of raw woods to the final product. And if you are interested in instruments like this or the ocarinas that I make, you can reach out to me directly through my email, which is included in the information below. You can reach out to me in other social media channels that I'm involved with. So thanks again for watching, and be sure to keep an eye out for the unveiling of the matching ocarina set. That one's going to be quite, it's going to be one of my more impressive ocarina builds that I'm really excited with. It's going to be a little bit of time before that comes out, but when it comes out, it's going to be a really exciting set. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.